Hi, welcome to Blake's first ever, hopefully and only, but we shall find out, virtual information night for the 2020-2021 school year. For those of you that do not know, I am Nat Vaughn and I'm the principal at Blake Middle School.
And I'm Kelly Campbell. I'm the assistant principal at Blake.
And we are excited to share a little bit about what our year is all about. And we're thrilled that each of the teachers were able to record their messages and the information they would have shared at the in-person parent night. And I would be lying if I didn't share that this is something that is definitely something that I am missing, is being all together with all families together to talk about and really celebrate the learning that takes place in our school year. And I know it's also later than usual. So I'm going to pull up my slides. We have some slides to go forward. This will not be as long, I believe, as our typical info nights, but we're looking forward to share a little bit about the school. Kelly and I will talk through some things, and then hopefully you have some time to take a look, refer back to, and also enjoy all the wonderful presentations from our teachers. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up the slides. Okay. So hopefully, Kelly, can you see that screen?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so again, welcome to the virtual information night for this school year. So before officially begin, and we shared this at our opening webinar for all families and students, I would be completely remiss if we did not thank you and thank our entire staff and community, specifically Mr. Frazier and our custodial crew has just been absolutely amazing every day. We are so spoiled and fortunate to have him. Mrs. Scary is the backbone of our school. Mrs. Manuel has done so much to assist with all the technology, our entire staff, and really I want to thank you all as families as well. It has been an adventure, as we know, and we are very proud of the work that we are doing here at our school. We know it's not perfect, and we are doing our best and really appreciate everyone's work together to benefit our students this school year. So I always want to share just a little bit about what we're about this year. So at the opening slide, I always do something around Happy New Year to start the new school year. And we started the year thinking about hopes, fears, and our theme of curiosity. And curiosity in our students looks like. So I just want to shape that these are things that we always come back to, and it's really important to think about. Although it is almost November right now, it still feels like we're in the forming phase of the school year. We always want to come back to these things. I'm not going to read these quotes because we will be sharing the slides, but I just always want to keep the thematic piece of what's important for us. And Peter DeWitt always talks about what schools should be, is a place where all students can learn. So I always want to make sure that we do highlight these messages as we go through the school year, and we are certainly learning a great deal. In a similar vein, these are our beliefs that we always hold true, that every individual at Blake, and that includes all of you as families, are cared for and important. We're a community of learners who must practice what we preach, and we always must be present and continue to be here for one another, and how important listening is. So that's an important piece that no matter what we're doing, in school, outside of school, as a Blake community, we want to hold on to these tenets. So just as an overall view, our core values are really important: respect, responsibility, resourcefulness, and reflection. Communication is incredibly important to us at Blake. That's a link to our blog. We have our hybrid learning website, Twitter accounts, some hashtags that we use. Really, really important to think about as we go through. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about the cluster and grade level and supports that we have for students' overall structure as a school?
Sure. So every grade level is divided into 3 clusters, and the clusters are actually particularly important this year. They always serve as a family within the school or a school within the school. So there are 4 to 5 teachers who meet almost daily in some capacity and are all working together to talk about and support your child. This year, everything that we're doing is driven by clusters because those are considered to be the pods in order to try to avoid cross contamination, for lack of a better word, for COVID. So most things are really driven by the cluster. There's a guidance counselor attached to every grade level who travels with your child for 3 years, and that becomes a very important relationship. Some students may really spend a lot of time with that person. Other kids will just know that that person is there if they need them, but know that behind the scenes, our guidance counselors are looking out for all students and connecting with teachers to check in on all students and see how they're doing and see how we can support. There's been a lot of outreach from guidance directly to students via email because of the COVID closures. And so hopefully I feel like students know probably more now than they did before how to access their guidance counselor in a pretty comfortable way. And there are also services provided for students on every cluster. There isn't a cluster that's just for students receiving certain services. It's spread out throughout the school.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all seen these in our reopening plans. I want to give credit. This is the district-wide graphic image for our school year. And Diane Horvath, who we are just so fortunate to have as our technology integration specialist, brought this together. And I know you've seen it. I just want to highlight it. And again, our mission of a willingness to adapt certainly has not been more applicable than in this school year to a continual evolving world. And that's the district-wide graphic image that we're really serving as a compass. And then really this has been how Diane helped tweak it, that messy image that I've shared in the past at school. This sort of encompasses all the different things that we're talking about at Blake. And a really credit to Diane for putting it in a visual format, which I think is important and really speaks to what we talk a lot about, is that everything's connected. And we see that in every way. Safety is at the heart of everything. But whether we're talking about our strategic plan, our school improvement plan, and the different initiatives or work that we're doing on, it's very hard to talk about anything in isolation. And that's something that's really important that we always come back to, of making sure we understand the layers of learning and how that impacts everything. So along these lines, I've shared this quote before from Ted Sizer, always just want to make sure we think about that, and that ties to the same type theme. So a few things I want to highlight in this presentation or talk is these are the premises that we talked about in the spring, and I've shared this before, but I want to echo them. We said when we return in the fall, and this is true every day, we'll meet students where they're at, we'll meet one another where we are at, and we'll all learn and move forward together. And we are doing that every day, every moment. And I listened to a podcast from Lisa D'Amour last week, and she writes for the New York Times. And I think this is important for us to really center what's important. This pandemic is not about how productive we can be. It's about getting to the other side emotionally intact. So we want to make sure that we think about that for ourselves, our students primarily, ourselves as educators, as families, and as a community, that we make sure that we're staying attuned to that, to make sure that we take the long view on what we're doing, which is true every day in school as well. And overall big picture, just to highlight really what we're working on. Obviously, safety, health, and shared responsibility are guiding principles this year. Our priorities this year: care, flexibility, and grace, our theme of curiosity, race and social justice work, and our mission of adaptability, keeping our accommodation plans in mind, and really thinking about our priority standards. These are very important this year in the hybrid learning model, knowing that we may need to switch to a different model at some point this school year, that we really want to come back to what the essence of what we're trying to do for our students in their learning comes back to. Sharing with students and staff and community, and this includes you as well as families, your well-being is the most important. Let us know how we can help and support. Kelly always says it doesn't matter who you reach out to, just please reach out. Make sure that we are trying to carve out times for ourselves and our families. And I'm saying the royal we, all of us all together. And relationships are the most important in everything. So we're really doing our best to form relationships, the in-person experience, and working on, when we have synchronous experiences on Zoom, really thinking about relationships are at the heart and the foundation of learning. So this is our theme of curiosity. This is a hyperlink to slide deck that our teachers put together. And again, taking a curious approach to everything we're doing and really seeing how curiosity stems learning. It really is the foundation and is the first step toward a learning experience. I just want to highlight our systems of feedback of standards-based reporting, and really thinking how we're doing it. I know the family outreach period is a little bit different. That'll be next week, or this week. if you're watching it the week of November 2nd. And thinking in our feedback, we're looking for more descriptive and actionable feedback to students and families, more meaningful and personalized feedback, and also greater calibration of our staff. And that's been something that's been really important for us as a staff, is thinking, does not matter what classroom, what cluster you're on, that we're looking at similar expectations and assessment practices to make sure that we can assess and give actionable feedback on learning. Kelly, can you talk about this acronym?
Sure, this is a poster that we have in most classrooms and spaces throughout the building. It's a reminder to students, a reminder to students about thinking before you speak, but giving them actual actionable questions that they can think about, such as, before you think about if what you're about to share is true. Is it helpful? That's particularly important one for middle school students, because they're at a developmental stage where oftentimes they think it's particularly helpful to let a friend know something that's being said about them behind their backs, and they think that that's something they're doing to help someone, but sometimes that ends up being actually very stressful for the students. So we do talk about, is what you're sharing helpful? Do you know it to be true? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Did the person really need that information? And is it kind? So rather than just saying, like, just be nice, it gives kids a way to sort of break it down. And we use it as a reminder, but then sometimes we use this if there's a situation where feelings are hurt, we can kind of go through and say, well, let's look back and think about what impact this may have had, and what would the answers to these questions be.
Thanks, Kel. And and I'm, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, for myself as well, is just knowing what we were talking about earlier, that the emotions are very high right now for all of us. And it's important to press pause and think about, how can I perhaps give feedback or share things that are more productive, and really thinking in that way of doing that. So it's really important.
And it's also part of our, we try to use the social thinking type of language with students throughout the school, to help them think about situations and how it's impacting the people around them. What is it making the people around them think? And how do the actions that you take make you feel about yourself also? So it's part of a bigger program, but a small reminder that can be visually accessible everywhere in the school.
Absolutely. So again, I'm not going to read this quote, but I think I always share Justin Reich's words, in the sense of coherence is so important. And that's what our goal is, to have a coherent approach. And that is the evidence that has been clear in research, that schools that move forward are ones that have a coherent approach. And we really want to make sure we're fostering that. The middle school structure really speaks to that model. And we really want to make sure that, even though we are physically distanced in many ways, we really are still working quite closely together for all of our students and our staff and community. So just a few big pieces just to highlight, because I think I'd be remiss not to. We have shared these before, but just to make sure you know, safety is our top priority. I'm not going to highlight each of the bullet points, but they're there within, and we're very proud of our students and very proud of how our students are really responding and really looking out for each other. Certainly need reminders, as do we as adults, but safety is the top priority. And again, some images of what our school looks like. This video we created at the beginning of the year, if you want to take a look at what classrooms look like. Happy to talk about. What I would say, if you have any concerns at all, do not hesitate to reach out to Kelly, me, Trisha, and Arlene, our nurses. Safety is very, very important. And if you have any questions or concerns, please, please, please let us know. So attendance, Kelly, just want to briefly talk about the dismissal procedure.
Sure. I think everyone's adjusting to a new system. The traffic flow seems to be better than we thought it might be. And the buses are starting to even out and settle down. Lake school hours are 7:50 to 2:05. We do a staggered dismissal at the end of the day. So we dismiss by grade. So not everyone is leaving at the same time, and kids enter through different doors also in the morning, but the kids have really adjusted nicely to those routines. Go Block happens for the first 15 minutes of the day, and it stands for Get Organized. It's a time to check in with their advisors, preview the day. It's a good place, sort of a launching pad from which to ask questions if there are is any confusion around anything, get some organizational support, build relationships. I'm hearing teachers talk a lot about, oh, this will be perfect. I'll touch base with that child during Go Block and we can just make sure I'll have a few minutes then to work one-on-one on something. So that it's been a nice way to start the day. That is when attendance is taken. So students should be here in time to be in class by 7:50. Any absence at all needs to be called into the main office. Even it's been a very funky thing to get used to, but even if you're virtually absent or if you're absent on an in-person day, it's been quite a task to keep track of all of the attendance. So over communicate rather than under communicate. You may call the main office. We also have a new email called Blake Early Dismissal at email.medfield.net. And anytime you need to dismiss a child, you just send an email to that email address. And that counts even if they're going to miss their remote Go Block because they're not accounted for then. If they're going to miss some Wednesday Zoom time or a regular in-person day. When in doubt, just send an email to that. And that's true for cohorts C and D as well. And if you have a question, just reach out and ask. But we're no longer doing the handwritten notes for obvious reasons. And families who are picking up children just come to the door and ring the bell and then wait outside and we'll send the child out. So hopefully.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Kel. So just a few reminders about support. So this is a hyperlink to our hybrid learning site. Again, I want to thank Diane Horvath for establishing this for us. This is really the home base for learning organization assignments for all of us, for staff and students and families. So I would say that's your number one go-to spot. There's a lot of resources on it to help with families. For accessing Google Classroom, how to set up things. So if you have questions, I would go right there. The virtual agendas, as you know, I send the link every Sunday night to students and families. And that's really the spot to help students frame their week and their remote learning and their in-person learning as well, working in conjunction with Google Classroom. Kelly talked about the Go Blocks. Our synchronous remote Zooms that we started about, I think, 2 weeks ago now. And hopefully you have your students scheduled for that. If you have questions, it's a means of trying to support our students on their remote learning days. Also, we have virtual extra help on the afternoons for remote cohorts. Every 2 weeks, we're getting feedback from students. The biweekly check-ins, they've been extremely helpful. Students have been very honest and forthcoming, as always, about what's working, what's not, length of time they're spending, and really trying to tease in. And it allows us a follow-up to really keep assessing where students are at so we can keep touch with them. And our guidance counselors are looking at them frequently as well. Similar with the remote organized chart as well, to get a daily feedback from the kids as well. Thank you to all families who filled out the monthly check-in. Every 4 weeks, I'll be sending a similar survey to get a sense of where things are at, no matter what mode we're in. Hopefully we'll still be in hybrid, as we go forward. But, if not, we'll want feedback to see where it goes. So that it holds up a mirror to our practices and sharing that with staff. Just as, we all need reminders, and just our Netiquette guidelines, the hybrid learning site is there. And also we're always just reminding students, and we're adapting and reviewing safety parameters and guidelines. Sometimes we get updated information from the Department of Ed or from our Board of Health. And so as they come in, we'll be updating families. I know Dr. Marsden is as well, and our nurses. So we all need reminders, and I'm putting myself in that category too. But if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out at any time. That is always true here at Blake, and we want to make sure you know that. So just a few things. I'm not going to show this clip, but I highly recommend it. Sir Ken Robinson, he passed away this summer. Huge influence on education. And this was one of his last talks he gave. I recommend taking 16 minutes and listening. Unbelievably applicable to all of our work, thinking about our students. And we shared this and have been coming back to it as a staff frequently, talking about his work. So I recommend that. And Brene Brown, who we are all big proponents of here at Blake, she's done such incredible work on courage, empathy, and leading, that's our goal for our students as well. We want them all to become leaders. And this is just a wonderful, wonderful words about teachers are some of our most important leaders. And I will read aloud this last piece. We as teachers must be guardians of spaces that allow students to breathe, be curious, and to explore the world and be who they are without suffocation. They deserve one place where they can rumble with vulnerability and their hearts can exhale. And what I know from the research is that we should never underestimate the benefit to a child, and I will start to get emotional, of having a place to belong, even one where they can take off their armor. It can and often does change the trajectory of their life. And that is at the essence of what we hope for our school, that yes, we have masks on, yes, things look different, but we want our students, every single one of them, we want you as families to know that we're here, and we want to hopefully have a place that everyone feels that they belong. That's incredibly important to us. And if that's true, I know for sure that we will learn, and our students will learn, and we'll move forward. And it's so important. We are so thrilled and proud of our school. Ken Robinson's word, our aim, to enable students to understand the world around them, the talents within them, so that they can become fulfilled individuals and active, compassionate citizens. And I shared this clip before, I won't play it, but Jesse Jackson, this is back in 1972, I believe, on Sesame Street. It's wonderful. I am somebody, and important for all of our students, important for all of you. We thank you. Enjoy all the information sessions, and we hope it's a great school year, and that we'll ride all the bumps as we go along the way. And please reach out if you have any questions. And thank you so much. Kelly, any final words?
Just that it is so wonderful to have kids here. And we're having so much fun with them, and they come in and they seem happy to be here. And they're still middle school kids, and they're still going to always be middle school kids. And with that comes a lot of fun and sometimes some difficulties, but they're coming in, and the teachers are saying over and over that they are amazed at all that they're managing and how well that they're managing it and how seriously they're taking it. And so we're really, really proud of them, and we're really happy to have them here. So thank you for all you're doing to support them at home.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to stop recording. And I hope everyone has a wonderful school year. And even though we're about almost 2 months in, and enjoy. So let us know what we can do. We care for you. Take care.